Hi, so today I'm going to be showing you the process I use to paint this postcard here. Hi, my name is Escobar. I'm a storyboard artist from the Simpsons television show. I've been working on the show for over 25 years now, and I'm here to empower you. So I go over the process of painting this postcard here, something that I give away to my patrons when they join my Patreon. I give this original to one patron. However, the digital copy of this will be distributed to every single person who supports me on Patreon, no matter what level you support me on. You will still get this digital copy, but only one person will actually be given the original. So one of the things that I talk about in this video, if you're curious, I talk about the slight differences between ink and watercolor, ink washes and watercolor. I also talk about edges and how I think about what I think about edges and how light changes edges. So I talk about that if you're interested in that. If you like this video, subscribe, like, and do all the things. And also just something that I forgot to talk about in the video: if you're interested in drawing of any kind and you're not you don't know anything about drawing at all, like nothing at all, I do have a course that will get you through the first steps, just so that you could understand reading like drawing books. Like you go to Barnes and Nobles or whatever, and then you see drawing books and you pick them up, and then they already assume that you already know how to draw. But you're like, but I can't even draw a stick figure. How am I supposed to draw this cube? And how am I supposed to draw this sphere? Well, that's how I get you to the point where you're able to at least be able to understand these books and be able to start using them in order to improve. So if that is something that you're interested in, then the course will be for you. The link to the course is in the description of this video. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy this video, and here we go. All right, so because the last video I did, I really liked the color that I used. It was a mixture of French blue and my green. I'm going to remix that, and I'm going to do this postcard. I'm going to paint it with the same color because I really liked it. I don't know what it is. It's just a beautiful blue-green is one of my favorite colors. It just looks so nice. So I'm gonna do that, even though this one is not, cyberpunky. I could have added more to this. I think I just got lazy. But I could have added like cyberpunky things. I'm just not. I'm not there yet. I'm not there where I can take. It's not that I can't do it. I'm not there yet where I want to take something like a reference photo and then just add a little bit of fantasy to it. I'm not at that point where I kind of want to do that. I really ought to, because it's a little bit more creative than just doing studies. But again, even this is a cartoony version of the reference anyway. I deliberately didn't use the reference verbatim. I didn't measure the proportions of the photo. All I did, I took the reference, and then I just pushed the features the way I wanted to push them. So still, even that is still a creative. It's a artistic choice. So here we go. I'm sorry if you could hear my kids are downstairs playing video games. I told them that I was going to record, and and I said, you know, guys, can you please keep it down? I'm going to be recording a video, and they're playing video games, and they apparently could care less. So I'm sorry if you could just hear them yelling and screaming and, well, generally having a good time, but I'm sorry about that. So here, again, as I've said in previous videos, a lot of this, the difficult stuff is worked out in the drawing phase. I do all the mapping out of the darks and the lights in the drawing phase, and then it's just paint by number. So like in the last postcard video I did, I went out of my way to talk about the drawing and what I was thinking in the approach to the drawing, so that you could understand how I approach the drawing before I paint it. So when I paint it, I know what I'm going to do, where I'm going to apply the darks. And the thing is that as you paint, you just kind of you make decisions on the fly as well. So you still have to decide where you're going to put some things, where you're not going to put some. So it's not like it's completely mindless. You're still making decisions all the way to the end, which is what makes it fun. Another thing is that even when you're doing what I'm doing, this stage of the process, where you're just adding in the paint on the general areas that you're going to make dark, right? What ends up happening is that the paint that I'm putting down right now is going to lighten, and what happens is it becomes more of a mid-tone, like a first layer, and then you have to go in and darken it in again, and the good part about that is that you can really start playing with the values at that point. Like you could use a lot of what is being put down as mid-tone, and then you have a lot more control over what is going to be the real dark areas and what part is going not to be so dark, right? So, but this is see how all I did was just put in the graphic shapes of the values, and it's already kind of coming together. There's going to be a little bit here, and I think some of this is a little bit too wet. By too wet, I mean it's going a little out of my control. Especially I'm a little sad that right here I kind of lost the highlight because it went out of my control a bit. And then this, I think I'm going to just do that with. It's kind of shadow. And here, this area here, maybe I should do this to it, and then darken it around that area, and then that'll become a mid-tone. So I'm hoping that's how it's going to work. Otherwise, I just messed it up. Okay. And again, like sometimes you just don't know how things are going to turn out. That's part of the fun of working with watercolor. That's part of the fun of painting in traditional media, is that there's accidents. You allow for the mess ups, right? There's no undo. You're just going to have to wing it. You're just going to have to go with the flow. Whatever happens, you have to just work with it. And that isn't to say that you can't make adjustments. You can't erase. With watercolor, erasing is as simple as getting a rag. See how this is all colored? Getting a rag and wetting your brush and then wiping it off. So watercolor is much more forgiving than I originally thought when I first started doing watercolor. The media that is actually far less forgiving, and I found this out when I was doing using it a few postcards back, is ink. Ink is far less forgiving. So if you're going to do something similar to this, but with ink, it doesn't lift. I was like, whoa, wait a minute, this is not lifting. Okay, so this is just too wet. I want to darken this more, all this area more, but it's just too wet. Or maybe my paint isn't thick enough. I just ran out of blue. See how my blue here is gone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get more blue, and I'm going to put it into my palette. So this is what I use, and this is the watercolors that I'm using. If you want, I'll put a link to these in the description of this video. They're okay. I like them well enough, but this is the blue that I'm using, cobalt blue. I thought it was French. Oops. Cobalt blue, and I'll just put it on my palette like so. Okay. And then I'll just use that. So that's the paint that I use. And now I'll mix it up with the green. Okay, let's see how dark I get this now that I have actual like fresh paint, right? Yeah, it's a little darker. It's a little darker, but I mixed it up with the green, and it's not really that much darker. I think I'll just go directly with the blue. There we go. So that's better. I just dipped my brush in a jar of water, and that's why it got really wet. I want to really darken this area up though, so I want to lose all of this and just have the portrait emerge from the darkness, right? Like lose all these edges. I drew her head. In fact, if you looked at the original, there was a line all the way around here like that. That was where I originally thought I had drawn the head, and it looked like she was like some kind of alien beast. So I decided maybe I should shrink that head shape a little bit. So I did. Okay. Ooh, that's very heavy. Got to be very careful about this stuff. Okay. Not wet enough. Again, I'm just darkening all this up again. I want it to be almost like this is the oh man. I want this to all be almost like the black, right? But this is, I need it to be green, not too blue, but I think I lost the greenness. There we go. Out of control. This blue is out of control. That's okay. Here we go. Coming up from underneath. In the dark, this is the dark. Coming from below, super dark. And then maybe I could then come up here and then just do this. So this is dark here. This area here behind the ear is one of the darker areas. That's too much. I need to get rid of some of that paint. There we go. But it is one of the darker areas, so maybe it's okay. There we go. Really have that. This area here is really very dark, so I need to really push this here. Another part that's very dark is around the eyes, and that's going to be tricky because I don't want to get too crazy. But here we go. I am going to go for it. See, that's a lot. So, first the eyebrows. The eyebrows get kind of dark. And this is just too dry. The paint is just too dry. So I'm going to dip the tip of the brush in the water just to wet it just enough. I could, this is a Pentel Squeeze water brush. I could just squeeze the water out, but the thing is that if I squeeze the water out, it'll definitely be way too much water. So I'd rather dip the brush very lightly into the water. The water brush is perpetually wet by the fact that it is a water brush, and water's always kind of streaming into it, so it's almost always perpetually wet. It doesn't really dry up. What it tends to do is it just runs out of pigment. The problem with this could be a problem for sure, that the water brush is perpetually wet. It could be a problem. I've gotten used to it. I've because of the fact that I tend to go paint with it on the field, and I've done it for so long. I'm going to just use this as my palette now. I've gotten so used to it. So this little bit where I left the half tone, now I'm going to make it, now it's going to work in my favor, hopefully, making everything else around it dark and keeping this as the mid-tone. And it really should be a little softer than this because it is in the reference. So this is supposed to be the, and then this gets lost. Like a lot of this is about lost edges. Lost edges are when the edge of a figure or a head or gets lost in darkness, and so you lose where the body, the surface ends, and the shadow begins. And I love that effect. It's one of the reasons why I tend to go out of my way to pick very dramatic reference with very dramatic light. Even the reference that I'm using has more detail in the shadow than I am than what I'm putting down here. Kind of like these brush strokey looking brush strokes, so I'm gonna leave them, and I'm gonna. It just seems very oil brushy to me. Like one of the things that I'm very envious of is oil painters and the look of oil paint. I want to get into oil painting. I've done it before. I've taken oil painting classes years ago. I still have all the oil painting brushes. I still have my oil paints. I don't really have any of my canvases, or rather canvases. I have a canvas sketch book somewhere. I just don't know where the blazes it is. And it's got some of my paintings, and it's got one of my favorite paintings in it, which is not mine. Well, I started it, but then the teacher came and fixed it, and it's just great what he did, and I love it, and I wish I remember where it was so I could show it to you. He's passed away, and it's like a little memento of his that I have of him. But at the time when I was taking those painting classes, I was unable to understand what was being taught. Like I just my head wasn't in I hadn't gotten to a level in my figure drawing and in my understanding that I could really grasp what was being said. And I think that if I was to do that again, I'd probably be able to. If it was me now taking that class, I think I'd get more out of it. I'd understand more. And it's really too bad. Like this is one of the reasons why taking figure drawing over and over is important, because sometimes you're just not ready for the lessons. You learn something new every time. Okay, so now I'm deliberately adding some mid-tone in here, reflecting the local color. And needs to be wetter. This is where you just really want really wet. You don't want to overwhelm what you've already put down. Just want to add just enough value in here. And there are bits in here that are little, the neat edges. There are sharp edges and soft edges and firm edges. And if you haven't watched any of my videos about edges before, hard edges are usually in areas where there is a direct hard shadow, like a cast shadow that is coming from a really close direct light source. For example, right here where a plane meets another plane and just comes to a direct stop is a hard edge, right? So is this area here with the mouth. This is a hard edge, although I need to add some local color just because this is a little bit redder, so I'll add a little bit of local color. But this is, so the top, it just abruptly stops because that's where the two planes meet. So that's a hard edge. A soft edge is usually what we usually think when you're shading a ball, and you're just, it's a gradual, very soft. That's why it's called a soft edge. Very soft transition. But the firm edge is something that that I never heard of before until I joined a Riley School style figure drawing painting school. Firm edge is like halfway between a hard and a soft. A firm edge is what most core shadows are. Core shadows aren't super soft, but they aren't hard. They're just somewhere in between. It's a little bit more abrupt. The transition is shorter and abrupt. And the hard edge happens because of more direct light. Like indirect light would be the sun fused on a cloudy day. It's indirect because it's getting covered by clouds and it's just being softened. It doesn't hit as hard because of the softness of the clouds that the light is coming through. A hard edge or hard shadow would happen because the sun is not covered by clouds, right? Now a soft edge in a direct light situation of the sun hitting hard, all the areas where there would be a soft edge would therefore not be as soft. They would end more abruptly because of the direct harshness of the light of the sun. It's exactly the same way if you have a lamp really close to your subject. You will have much more firm and hard edges. In figure drawing, there's usually a lamp lighting the subject, and because the lamp is so close to the subject, you get more hard edges and firm edges than you do soft. The soft edges would come from, say, the lights from the ceiling lights, That would be the what would be called the ambient light. That's where the soft edges would come from. So anything that is lit more by the lights from the ceiling or the environment, just the lamps in the area, would be the soft edges would be coming from there. That's where the influence of those soft edges would come from. So you have to be aware of that stuff when you're painting, and then any transition on the figure that's heavily influenced by the actual direct light from the lamp would probably be more firm. The transition of the edge of that light, or the edge of those shadows would be much softer. So hopefully I've explained that a little bit clearer. But so here's what I'm saying is this is a little bit softer here, but and this is soft. Let me see if I can find a good hard edge. I mean a firm edge. I think that a firm edge would probably be right here. This is a firm edge right here. This is a firm edge right here. This is actually a hard edge. I'm making it a hard edge. It's actually a firm edge on the this right here is absolutely a firm edge. This right here, this transition between these two, that's a firm edge. But you kind of can't go wrong with just making a lot of hard edges. It gives it that cell shade look. And that's not exactly an unattractive look. I think the problems happen when everything is a soft edge. Things can get very muddy looking, and lack solidity when every single thing is a soft edge. It's almost better to err on the side of almost everything being a firm edge. For some reason, our brains accept it more than if everything was just a soft edge. I think that's all I want to do. I want to keep, like I said, some of these brush strokes over here, like just this rough stuff in here. That's the sort of thing that only happens when I put fresh paint on my palette. So it hasn't happened in any of these paintings in a while, because I've been using older paint, dried up paint on my palette. Okay, so I'm done with that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reinforce all the hard edges. The way I'm going to do that is to use ink. So like I always do, I'm going to use this teal. I'm going to shake this, and I'm going to shake the I'm going to shake the ink, because I want to make sure to get the pigment from the bottom and distribute it all through the liquid. And then I'm going to use this quill that's very, very fine, and I'm going to reinforce all the hard edges. There's one here, especially in the eyes, so I'm going to just make sure that wherever something just abruptly ends, I'm gonna just go over it. And again, this is all artistic license. You're making these choices just purely out of what you think you see. But what this does is it creates a design aesthetic. Because it's a personal choice, it's unique to you. It's your signature. You may choose other edges that I would not, right? And I'm going, because of the way that that this is propped up in the way that I'm drawing this, I have a really difficult time accurately putting down the line I want, so it's a little rough. Maybe that'll add to the charm. So one place I really want to solidify the edge is right here, because it's a blouse. It absolutely should not be soft. And because this is ink, paper's moving. Because this is ink, I could go over and repaint over this area, go straight to the, just like reinforce this and go straight to the over the paint or over the line, and it wouldn't, and it won't ruin the what I've done. I don't think I need any more. I think that's it. Okay, so I'm going to dip this in water, clean it off, close the ink bottle, immediately just take the ink off of this thing, clean it up. I don't want it to get rusty. These things get rusty. Now I'm going to go back in and add a little bit of paint anywhere that I think I need to go all the way to the line that I just put down, like right here. Oh, and I went over. I'm a terrible artist. And I'll just go over here like that. There. Maybe I'll add a little bit of Just need this a little darker. Come on. I'm trying to pick up the pigment, but it's just not cooperating here. Jeepers. Come on. There, better. Hey. Do what I want, paint. I'm being really careful about picking up the paint, and then I'm just not picking up any. Okay, so that's it, I think. Oh, this needs a firm edge here. There we go. I think I am done. I may come in here and just add a little bit of dark right here. And what that does is it separates the head and it pulls it out a little bit. From the dark. Just now I'm wiping my brush off. Yeah, so that's it. I think I'm done. Sometimes I put in like little white dots of gouache, but I don't need to because I actually didn't mess up the eyes like I sometimes do. But I think that's it. So yeah, I'm done. Hooray! So that's the painting process that I usually do with some. I don't know. I think the video is picking it up a little distorted. I'm trying to see, but here's what it looks like. There, that's it. It looked a little like an alien here, but this is what it looks like with the proportions that I'm actually looking at. So yeah, okay. Hopefully that's been helpful and I've said something helpful. Again, forgive my kids. They were yelling and screaming in the background. But thanks a lot for watching. And I will talk to you next time. All right. Bye.